Good morning and welcome back to Entrepreneurs Espresso, PANJ's radio's weekly show featuring business owners, entrepreneurs, and influencers. Got ourselves a nice rainy day, almost like a spring day though, and here we are. So, hey, today's guest is someone very, very close to PANJ radio. Very, very close, in fact. A true veteran of media, including television, video, and radio. We will meet our guest in just a few moments. We have some exciting shows coming up, including a roundtable discussion with some of the leading art galleries in our area, our art gallery owners in our area, and another lively discussion on marketing and social media for local business. These shows are coming up in the next few weeks, but if you have an idea for a show, if you'd like to be a guest, if you'd like to advertise or even sponsor Entrepreneur Espresso, please get in touch with us. We'd love to have you. For today, I thought we would discuss how having the right people around you can help your business or entrepreneurial venture. As a business owner myself, each day I face opportunities, ideas, and challenges. It's all part of living the entrepreneurial life. I have found, however, that it is very important to surround yourself with good people, advisors, and employees that can help shoulder some of the weight, some of the challenges, to help you keep focused, to kind of challenge you, to kind of keep you in your place at times. Over time, I've come to realize you cannot do it all on your own. And magnify this by having multiple businesses. Having trusted people around you makes it easier to work through the challenges. It helps you to keep business fun. We talk about business fun a lot in AMP for social media. When I started Amplify Your Voice, social media for local business, I knew I needed someone to work with me as a partner, to bounce ideas, to listen to alternative directions, and to be challenged. Although she is not part of the company today, you will meet Melissa in an upcoming roundtable show about online and social media for local business. I doubt I could have started AMP without having her insights and validation. Today, AMP has other advisors and client representatives to help us explore new directions and seize upon opportunities, along with helping our clients succeed in their own business, leveraging social media. Rivertown Photography, my other business, also has team members to cover real estate clients that are in geographic areas that I just can't reach. It makes good sense. I can keep my clients happy, but again, I have to depend on and trust good people around me. Both AMP and Rivertown depend on people to help us grow. In my past as an executive and director at some large corporations, I learned the art of delegating and managing people for success. I attended Dale Carnegie, and it truly changed my life. Managing people, empowering people, learning to foster trust is critical if you want to be a successful business owner. I strongly recommend reading Dale Carnegie's incredible book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, if you want to really succeed in business. It truly changed my life. As entrepreneurs, an entrepreneur has to be more than just an idea generator, however. They need to master marketing, selling, and people management. If they do not have these skills, the business owner must recognize their need for help, set aside their ego, and help have others come in and manage and help work through some of these areas. This leads me to our guest today, Mr. Rob Bell. Rob was an on-air reporter and cameraman, and now has transformed to be the owner of Birdie Productions and, yep, you guessed it, PANJ Radio. It was a few months ago that Rob and his business partner Vinny, who produces The Green Room on PANJ Radio, realized they needed others to help in certain areas to help grow the listenership of this station. Rob formed a working group, which included myself and others, to act as advisors. Some focused on the internet radio technology, others on promoting our great wealth of local music. We have such tremendous music in this area. And like me and others, focusing on content and on marketing. And without a solid group of motivated people, the very successful music marathon at Paulsville Mill could never have happened. What a great event, but I'll let Rob talk about that event in more detail. Hey, I'm going to let our guest tell us more about PANJ Radio and the radio's vision, and of course his very interesting background, which leads him to this place in Lambertville. Hey, welcome to our show, Mr. Rob Bell.
Hey, it's great to be here. This is always a pleasure to be interviewed on my radio station
I know.
here in my studio.
I figured this is time to turn the coffee table around a little bit.
I know. You've turned the tables on me, Stephen.
There you go.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, but this is, you know what? This is your station. I mean, this is a venture. This is an entrepreneurial venture. So, who could else be talking about these things like you? So let's go to it. So, hey, why don't you start off? Because just like I do with all my other guests, they all come from such different backgrounds. Although yours is pretty much in the same vein, but it's a little different. So why don't you start from the beginning, Mr. Bell, and tell us where'd you come from?
Where'd it come from? Well, I grew up on Long Island in New York.
Okay.
And I kept moving west looking for Nirvana. When I landed in Lambertville in 1988, I actually was sent down here as a reporter for then it was called WOR-TV.
Oh, yeah.
WOR-TV, and I had actually been working there for about 6 years as a videographer. Back in the wild west of the 1980s, when Times Square was still full of prostitutes and pimps, and there was murders and killings, and there would be 10, 12, 15 murders every weekend in New York City. So between 1982 and 1987, let's say, I was covering those kind of events as a videographer. And then I decided I wanted to be a reporter because I was asking a lot of questions in the field, and it just was a natural transition for me. So in 1988, they sent me down to Trenton to be a reporter for their bureau when their regular bureau chief went on maternity leave. And I had already been working as a reporter at News 12 Long Island for about a year, which is at that time, and I think it still is, the largest cable news network in the country. Even back in the 80s, they had over 1 million listeners. So I got that experience of being behind the camera and in front of the camera. So anyway, I came down to Trenton, and I lived in Stanton, New Jersey at the time, which was actually back in those days I lived in Weehawken, so it was too far to commute down to Trenton every day. So we looked around and we found this beautiful, bucolic little quiet town, Lambertville, which is about 20 minutes north of Trenton. And at that time, I sure wish I had bought real estate back in those days, because it was it was a pretty quiet little place. And they had motorcycle gangs in New Hope, and the bars were pretty feisty and stuff like that. So I moved down to Lambertville for a few months, just temporarily, while I was on assignment down in Trenton. And that was a lot of fun, being a reporter in Trenton, by the way. I covered some great stories. We had a noon show, so we would come in at 8 in the morning, and we'd had to be back in the studio by noon or doing a live shot, in the field. So it was a really quick turnaround. And between that and working at Channel 9 for all those years, 25 years altogether, 15 years as a producer, turning around shows on a daily basis, I got very good at telling stories quickly and getting both sides of the story, and just getting down to the essence of what the story was all about and getting it out on the air. And I always took pleasure as a reporter and as a producer. I felt like I did my job right if you listened to the report and you couldn't tell what my position was on the issue. Mm-hmm. So I was very proud of that. So so that's how I came down into the area. And I was living down here in '88. My kids were little. My son was just a baby, and my daughter was not much older. She was maybe 2 years old. And I said, you know what? If I can ever move back here, I'm going to come back here, and I want to live in Lambertville. I thought it was just a beautiful place. And so I moved down here. When I retired from Channel 9. Actually, what happened was Fox bought out Channel 9 in 2004. And in 2007, they pretty much shut down the entire facility in Secaucus, New Jersey, and they transferred me into New York City. Then I was commuting from Stanton, New Jersey, all the way into the east side of Manhattan, which was taking me about 5 hours round trip. And it just got to be too much, for me. And so I just retired from that job, and I used the money that I accumulated to start the station here in Lambertville.
Yeah, we'll talk about that station as well. Did you have a journalism degree? What did you come out of?
I actually I have a master's degree in communications, which I got from New York Institute of Technology, and before that I was a political science major at Denison University in Ohio. And my mother was a professional writer, and my dad was a television director. So pretty much following in my parents' footsteps. I was a writer, obviously, for 15 years as a producer. I wrote stories every day for the news. I've written 2 books of fiction. which my mother says are very good. I don't know if anybody else has ever read them.
I haven't read them yet.
No, not too many people have read them. But I give you a copy. Back in the old days when, this is 20 years ago when I wrote these books, you had to print the books and try to sell them. It wasn't like now where you just order them online and then they're printed on demand. So I have boxes of the books back in my garage. But, actually, I thought they were pretty good. They're both works of fiction. It was a lot of fun to write them.
Still writing, or is that kind of bug?
Right now, I just write. We have a news you can use. Which is kind of a throwback from my days as a journalist, a television journalist, and we produce that here on the station. We run that at the top of the hour, many hours a day, not every hour, but quite a few of them, and that's all about local topics of interest to the local people. Just circling back, one of the reasons why I started the radio station, because originally I started a video production company here.
Green Birdie.
And I just wanted to live in Lambertville. So I wasn't really thinking so much about, is there like a huge demand for video here? And really there isn't, because the people here really don't think in those terms. I mean, if I could have made more money if I'd moved to Philly or New York. But it was my field of dreams, which I love that movie, and I wanted to live here in Lambertville. I wanted to come back. My kids moved away to Los Angeles, and I was divorced, so I had no reason not to move down here. And so I took a stab at it, and we've been here for 5 years. I have a lot of repeat business, and the video production company is doing well. But the radio station started because no one was serving this area. I was looking around, and I just felt like it was crazy. I mean, if you want to know what the weather was like, you had to look at Philadelphia and add an hour and a half, or you look in New York and subtract an hour and a half on the weather report, and big stories were happening in this area. People were drowning in the canal, or there was issues of interest, and there was absolutely no coverage. Nobody, there was nothing happening here.
Yeah, we're right between these two markets, because at home we bounce between watching like the New York network news, local news, and the Philadelphia. So we watch the Philadelphia so that we can get the weather, and then we watch the New York so we get the sports. I mean, we have a little bit of an opening in this area for coverage. So you're absolutely right. So
yeah, and that was really my main motivation originally. Mm-hmm. And Vinny and I had a show called In the Green Room that was on the Hunterdon County Chamber of Commerce, which is, to their credit, they're the only Chamber of Commerce in the entire country that has a radio station. But coming from a professional background in broadcasting, I was disenchanted, shall we say, with the way that they ran their radio station. I didn't feel like they promoted it at all. They ran national news service. They didn't have local news, which I thought was a huge gap in their ability to attract an audience and to be of interest, of importance to listeners. So I said, why not? I've got this studio here, a green screen studio for video, and I have plenty of room here. Why don't I start a radio station? And we're sitting in it right now.
We sure are.
And so far I think it's working really well. We have probably close to 10 hours of original programming a week at this point. We have more shows coming. For example, we have a show with Joey Novick, which is starting on March 28th, which is going to be kind of a Bill Maher type show called New Jersey What Exit, which is going to be a bunch of comedians and politicians talking about events that are of importance to Hunterdon County residents. And that's exactly the kind of show that I want. And you know what? It might be controversial. It might be a liberal point of view. But I've also been after my friend Carl Resnick, who listeners probably know up in Flemington, who's very well thought out conservative views. He's been a little shy, so if you're listening, Carl, I really want to think we need to have a conservative voice too, to counter Joey's ideas. But it's all good. You know what I mean? As long as people are listening and getting something out of it.
We'll talk a little bit more about those shows in the second half as well. So hey, you got an Emmy too, right? So you're an Emmy Award winner for.
I won an Emmy. Yeah, I won a number of different kinds of awards over the years, and frankly, I really wasn't someone who applied for awards. For one thing, it costs money to actually apply for Emmys. You have to spend like $150 every time you put in an application, and then you get a statue. And I really wasn't that interested.
Really, they don't just draw out and or did your station pay for that? Or?
Well, yes. What happened was I left it to the station, so the station would occasionally, but they were very cheap, so they almost wanted a guaranteed win before they would put a story up. And but way back in 1993, I was working with a reporter, Pete Fuentes, who was a wonderful guy. He lives in San Diego now. We're still good friends. And we worked on a series called Dangerous Jobs in New York City. And they had me doing some crazy stuff. Back in those days, I was a videographer. This is back in the, 93. I was kind of doing a little bit of everything in 93. So I was producing my own shows and co-produced it with him. And let's see, some of the jobs that we covered, I remember they were building a skyscraper in the lower Manhattan, and it was going to be like 70, 80 stories tall. And they were around 50 stories up, and they have those big cranes. So they put me on a crane, and they swung me out over limbo, and there was no edge to this thing. It was just a big metal thing which was slowly rocking back and forth, and I'm out on this thing like a nut. I was married at the time, and when my wife heard what was happening, I didn't tell her till after I got off of the thing, but it was pretty scary, let me tell you, because when that thing started to swing from the wind, I could easily have just slipped off of it. I mean, there was nothing holding me on this thing. I was 50 flights in the air. But the shots, the video I got from that was amazing, because I was shooting steel workers from above, and this is way before they had invented the flying cameras that they have now, the drones, yeah. So you had to physically get out there. And so images were amazing on that. Another one was what they call the groundhogs in the subway system, which is a very dangerous job because they don't stop the trains running, and they have a live wire, and they got rats the size of a house cat down there. And these guys would typically, they would just go through into the subway, get down on the tracks, and they would have the light on their head, and they would go and they would fix things, things that were wrong, check the tracks. So for me to be standing down there just with a camera with no lights on me and nothing, and the live wire, the live third rail, if you put your foot on that, you're electrocuted instantly. That was another one of the dangerous jobs. So there were a number of dangerous jobs, and the series won an Emmy, to make a long story short. It was a really great series. I also shot a building implosion up in Harlem, which should have won an Emmy, except it wasn't applied for because the management didn't tell me that they were cutting back on their expenses. I would have paid the $100 because I got a video of a building in Harlem that collapsed. It was a 6-7-story building, and I was the only camera there. So the footage was used on the national network news all over the place for about a week. And they do have a category for breaking news, spot news, and it definitely would have won. But I won a lot of other awards as well. One of the ones that I was really proud of was the Edward R. Murrow Award that I did with Chris O'Donoghue, who was Irish-American. And we went to Ireland, and this is back again probably in the 80s, yeah, probably in the mid-80s, when Ireland was desperately poor, but they had a great educational system. So the Irish who were getting this amazing education couldn't find work. So they were emigrating to the United States. And this is a huge immigration of educated Irish people. And it was really hurting Ireland because everybody would get these great educations and then they would take off for the US. So we went over to Ireland and we did a whole story about that for a week. And it won the Edward R. Murrow Award, which is one of the most prestigious awards in our country.
So life has calmed down for you a little bit since then, I guess. It's not anywhere near as dangerous. Hey, you know what? If you thought about it, you would have been Mike Rowe, huh? For dangerous jobs.
I could have been Mike Rowe, sure.
Back in the day, or at least his cameraman.
Yeah, his cameraman more likely. Yeah,
his
exactly.
Video guy. Man, those are great adventures. I'd love to see some of that stuff, but any of those things available on YouTube, by the way?
Well, I still have them. I can show them to you, Steve.
There you go. we showed to the radio once, but this is radio after all. So
I also won an award. I don't know if you want to hear about more of the awards, but I won a New York Broadcasters Award back in the 90s when I was producing. For 3 years, I produced a show called Case File Unsolved. And what that was about was I was working with police departments in New York and in different New Jersey towns for cold cases. And what they do with the cases is, they were major crime cases, bank robberies, murders, kidnappings, major rapes and stuff of that nature. And if they couldn't catch these people over a certain period of time, they would become what you call a cold case, where they just couldn't figure out how to go any further. At that point, they would reach out to me, and I would come in and I would do a reenactment of the crime, using actors, and I actually would use the detective. I would write with the detective a little 2-3 minute script, and then I would have the detective present to the camera. And what was great about that show was we captured a dozen hardened criminals, murderers, and bank robbers because of that show, which were cases that were otherwise would have been unsolved. So that show was on the air for 3 years, and I won a New York Broadcasters Award for public service. I was very proud of that.
That would be a great show. That's a great show. And was that with WOR, or is that
That was with WOR, and actually it was the inspiration for that show, which used to run on Channel 5, with the guy whose daughter was raped and stuff. Do you know the show I'm talking about?
Yeah, I can't,
It was before that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and basically he copied me. Fox News at the time was a rival to us. Channel 9 and Fox were independent operations in New York.
Yeah.
And I was so successful back in 1993 or 1980 something, I don't remember, that they started copying it. And then they continued it, and it was a big hit for them for 15 years.
That leads me to another show, because a lot of times entrepreneurs, I have ideas that come to me, or I mentor people with great ideas, like these shows that you produce and things, and then you put them aside, and the next thing you know, somebody else comes up with it. That's the idea in this world of entrepreneurship. If you have an idea and it's hot, you have to strike, because if you don't strike, there's 5 other people who are thinking the same idea. Not necessarily you, and then the predecessor for Mike Rowe's show, but certainly there's certainly Genesis that we've all experienced.
Well, imitation is a form of flattery, right? That's what they say?
We'll ask Mike. If we ever get Mike as a guest, we can find out. So very good, very good. So and then Green Birdie. So where did you come up with this logo?
Well, I was a big golfer.
Oh, okay.
I was a big golfer back in the 80s and 90s.
Yes, I heard you got back into it.
So originally I was going to call it 19th hole, but that was already taken.
Yeah, it would probably be the green triple bogey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm lucky to break 100 now, but I used to be pretty good. So I had like a 13 handicap, which is decent.
Yeah, there you go.
I picked it up late in life. I didn't start playing golf until I was around 38 years old.
Okay.
And I just figured that it would be something I could play when I got old and frail. But then when I started, the radio station and everything, I haven't played golf in quite a while, because it's really all time consuming, especially running 2 businesses.
Yeah, trying to grow both of them, true. And then Green Birdie. So let's talk about Green Birdie just real briefly, and then we're gonna be able to take our break and come back. But so your focus on Green Birdie, in video world is what?
Nice pun. I like it.
I try to slip those in occasionally. So briefly, what is Green Birdie?
Well, like I said, I had this experience for 25 years turning around video stories and telling stories very, very quick. So I figured, hey, I've got all the skills necessary to have my own video production company. But what I didn't realize when I first started my own business, because I used to be a salaried worker, obviously, I was, in the union, and I used to work for a big business, whether Channel 9 or Fox News, some of the other we were owned by a number of large corporations. Sony owned us for a while. So to start my own business, what I didn't take into account was actually running a business. I had never done that before. I was very good at creating videos, setting up stories, interviewing people, but it was a learning curve. Let me tell you something. It was a lot of fun, and I think I'm getting better at it. But I'm by no means a great businessman, quote unquote. I do what I love to do, and I've been lucky enough that I've done a lot of great work with a lot of companies in the area. And after 5 years in, I get a lot of repeat business from them because they're happy with my work. And just real briefly, we do everything from television commercials. I probably made about 70, 75 television commercials for local businesses in the past 5 years. We do a lot of website videos promoting businesses. I have a lot of corporate clients, repeat corporate clients, who love the green screen in particular. That's what pays the bills. The radio station is the dream that's coming up down the road, as far as income.
There you go. I like that. So, okay, we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna talk about PANJ Radio a little bit more. So here we go.
It's all authentic comfort food at Bitter Bob's in New Hope. Bob serves mouth-watering barbecued pork and chicken dishes, signature sloppy sandwiches, homemade cornbread, macaroni and cheese and collard greens, all the great southern dishes you crave for. Bob serves weekend brunch, lunch, and dinner, BYOB, with an outside patio that is dog-friendly, and he has a kids menu. Great desserts, too. And Bob can cater any event, big or small. Tell the waitstaff you heard this commercial and get 10% off. Bitter Bob's in New Hope, PA. Authentic comfort food for your family.
Me. First we drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and drink. Then we fight, we fight, we fight, we fight, we fight, we fight, we fight. And we drink, we drink, we drink, we drink and drink and drink and drink. And we fight, we fight, we fight, we fight, we fight, we fight, we fight. There we go.
Happy St. Patrick's Day from the Shack Radio.
There we go. Best Irish song I know.
You're now Irish.
Are you having fun running your business marketing? Or does online marketing and social media overwhelm you? Would you like to use Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat, or LinkedIn, to name just a few online social marketing opportunities to market your business successfully? Amplify Your Voice can help. We work exclusively with local businesses in the PANJ radio target area of Hunterdon, Mercer, and Bucks counties, offering social media workshops, one-on-one coaching, managed services, direct online marketing, and web design. Contact us today at 973-615-5287 or email us at radio@ampyourvoice.com for a free no-obligation review of your online marketing. You can also visit us at www.ampyourvoice.com. Amplify your voice in a crowded market. Together, we will put the fun back in your business marketing.
I do like this opening music. I hear it in my dreams now, so thanks, Russell. Okay, welcome back to the second half of Entrepreneur Espresso with our guest. What station is
PANJ Radio.com. It's funny how many people don't really get it.
What's that, the PA?
They don't get the PANJ part. It's the PA part, I think, that throws them off.
Well, if you look at it all together, it's Punj Radio.
PANJ Radio.
PANJ Radio.
I thought about calling it NJPA Radio since we are actually located on the Jersey side of the Delaware.
Yeah.
But it didn't flow.
Yeah.
NJPA
I thought you were being
Radio.
diplomatic.
PANJ just kind of flows, you know.
I thought you were being diplomatic, let PA have the opening part of it. So, but anyway, so here we are. We're going to start our second half with Rob after we had some. I'll tell you, I learned a few things. I've known Rob for a while now, but some of those programs he did were pretty cool. So I don't know.
It was a lot of fun. Like I was saying during a break, I had a good news segment as well that I did for many years, which was because local news really has a reputation for ambulance chasing and getting shots of the dead bodies, and a lot of people are turned off by news because of that, and they want to hear the good things happening in the community. And if you listen to my news you can use, I call it that because I really don't dwell on the negative. Yes, there are drug dealers in Trenton, murders, but I don't talk about them. There are DUIs in New Hope every weekend, but I don't talk about those in my news.
No.
I try to talk about things that are, actually useful, whether it's, a public service, announcement, something good happening, something that you can donate to a good charity or cause, or an important event like in Flemington, if the Flemington Business Improvement District has a turnover on, in their executive staff, or they're going to renovate the Union Hotel in Flemington. Basically I focus on from Clinton, New Jersey down to Trenton, and from Doylestown to Princeton. That's basically and majorly, and really emanating out of the river towns.
Yeah.
Of Lambertville and New Hope. And that's what my news is all about.
Well, we live in this area. I think a lot of people have come from the cities. You came from this city. I came from up north. We don't really need to hear all that stuff. Besides, just tune into the New York or Philadelphia stations if you want to get that kind of crime news.
Yeah,
we
it's
don't
the same with
we don't need that around here.
It's the same with all of the indie music that we have here. I mean, you can hear, hey, you know what, Billy Joel's great. The Beatles are fantastic. I'm a huge Rolling Stones fan. You're not going to hear any of that music on PANJ radio. It's all local, independent music, all the time.
And
original music that you're probably not going to hear anywhere else.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? That's important.
So we're going to bounce around a little bit here. So we talk about music. So, hey, the music scene, I'll tell you, when moving into this area, the music scene is incredible. There is a huge wealth of local talent. And we saw some of that talent, what was it, last weekend? I can't remember already.
Can you believe that? Well, that was Saturday,
Wow.
March 5th. So, I mean, this show's going to run for a week, but we're taping it on Monday, the 14th of March. But that was last week,
last
a
week.
week ago Saturday. It was amazing. There were over 120 musicians performing on 2 stages at the Prosville Mill, which is a beautiful historic structure. I believe it was built in 1730, the original mill was. And 48 volunteers. And, you know, we had probably 400 to 500 people throughout the course of the 13 hours that we broadcast live on the radio station, and people were listening to us all over the world. It was really an amazing, probably one-of-a-kind event because, you know, music director Judy Marchand gets all the credit. She's friends with every single one of these musicians. Most of the volunteers, you know, were her friends as well, and she organized it along with her boyfriend, Mark Filikowski. Without these 2 guys, it never would have happened. And it was absolutely amazing event.
Oh, there she's calling now. So the music, it was called the Prosville Mill Music Marathon. It was 13 hours, and it just went nonstop, 2 stages. And I don't know, I was a little bit worried about the acoustics, but I think it really worked out well. People were going upstairs, listening to some bands, coming back downstairs, listening to some bands. But I also have to shout out to, we got a lot of local businesses to contribute fantastic prizes that we used for raffles. There were some amazing prizes. The bongo drums, those 2 bongo drums.
Zach's
drums.
Romano donated those. The 6 tie-dyes.
That were all over. If you look at the pictures on Facebook, you'll see a lot of those tie-dyes that were, you know, behind the musicians. The local restaurants, the local shops all contributed something to this endeavor.
44, I think, prizes.
Something like 44 prizes.
Yeah, and each one was worth $50 or more. So just do the math. That's, you know, over $2,000 worth of prizes that we gave out.
You know, and there was no arm twisting. These prizes, it was like a floodgate. You know, once a few started coming in, and Judy, you know, I think we were talking about, you know, when in my opening, let's go back a little bit. When we talked about in my opening dialogue, we talked about the fact that, you know, PANJ Radio is here. I was trying to talk to Rob about doing a radio show. I know others were as well, and I think Rob, I mean, what got you to thinking, I need some people around me to help move this station forward? We created this thing called the PANJ Working Group. Why don't you talk
Absolutely, and it's made up of, at the moment, 13 individuals who, including myself and Vinny, you know, who are the original co-founders of the radio station. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. I find it of enormous value to bounce ideas off of other professionals who are like-minded in that they see the value of having a local independent radio station serving the river communities and the Tri-County area. So it's really a fantastic. We have meetings, and the meetings are a lot of fun too. Pizza and a couple of beers, and we talk about where we're going to go next. And you know, hey, the Prosville Mill Music Marathon never would have happened without the working group, because you know, everybody, you know, chips in what they're good at, what they feel comfortable with, what they would like to donate to try to make us, you know, even bigger success. I mean, just moving back a little bit, I mean, we only started the station in earnest in September of 2014, when it's just me and Vinny. We really needed some help after a while, you know, because Vinny's semi-retired, and I'm running a video production company full-time. And we were kind of, you know, loping along. You know, we had 2 or 3 original shows, and we were running music. And I said, you know, we gotta get this notched up a bit. We need some more help. I need input. I need other people, because I have big plans for the station. I want this to be a powerhouse, you know, at least as big as 103.5. We're strictly on the internet right now, and yes, they do have a dial on the AM dial, or FM dial rather. But you know what? Internet is the future. There's examples in the media all the time of stations are giving up their FM and AM dials now. They're selling it off because the internet, Wi-Fi is going to be in every car. You know, new cars 2016 have Wi-Fi. It certainly is an option for you. They can put Wi-Fi on the towers now, you know, the cell phone towers. So I really do think within the next year or two, you'll be able to get Wi-Fi in your car. You'll be able to put PANJ radio on your dial as a push button dial. And even now, it's very easy to get. You may have noticed that, you noticed that, Stephen, that I spent a lot of money to make sure that it's easy to get because, when it comes to internet radio, you try to tune into it, and it's very difficult to actually get to the news feed. So I had Lon Hosford, who's a member of our working group, and I've been working with him for years, create this amazing widget. So all you have to do is click the Listen Now button, and it opens up in a new window, and you just hit the play button, and it's playing on any device, be it an iPhone or an Android or a desktop PC, anything like that, it'll play. And then you can plug it into your system and listen to your car. You can listen to your house. So we are very easy to hear, but people don't know about us yet.
And that was one of the reasons why the mill event was so huge. And again, coming back to the working group, it was an idea. I remember sitting in the room and somebody said, "Hey, let's do a fundraiser." And it seemed like a week later there was already 100 musicians signed up for something called a fundraiser. So that's, you find those kind of people in your business, whatever your business might be. If you can find those well-motivated people who buy into your dream, buy into your vision, and want to participate, they'll knock down walls for you, and they'll make it happen. This mill event, there's a lot of people who put big events like this together. I don't think they could do it in this magnitude, this quick, and this successful so fast.
Well, I think Judy must have worked 100 hours a week for about 2 months to put this thing together. And I said, what, we had the idea in January.
I was going to say...
I mean, how in the heck did we get to 120 musicians? We had so many musicians interested that she had to turn them away.
Yeah.
We had like a dozen musicians in the waiting list.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
can you imagine a waiting list?
There's a waiting list. We had 120 musicians there.
But it goes back to the vision. One of the pinnacles of PANJ Radio is to expose the local musicians. And we have a lot of venues around here, Havana's and John and Peter's and other places that are showcased, the City Market. You were there the other day, I think, for the City Market show.
Absolutely. Galleria threw a big fundraiser for animal rescue and other great local causes, and I was definitely there. And a lot of the musicians that performed at Prosville Mill were there as well.
You see them all in the little circles. They do go around. And having this format, the PANJ Radio, to actually help them, them get more gigs, get more exposure.
I hope so.
Yeah, well, I think so.
I hope it does.
Yeah.
It certainly gets, I'm just trying to give them exposure. I move them around on the 24-hour. We're on 24/7. And most of our programming is indie music with very limited, if any, commercial interruption. So we would like to get some commercials.
Yeah, I was looking at Rob there going, I think we'd like to change some of that. That would be a good thing. But the other thing, too, is good content. And so one of the things that I've noticed more and more, it took me a while to finally get to the microphone and create this show. And I really do appreciate Rob allowing this opportunity to do that because, it's a good outlet. I'm a business person in town. But there's also some really great other shows that have been, some of them have been around for a while, but there's new shows that are coming up.
On our programming?
There's a cooking show.
Yeah, Food for Thought.
Food for Thought.
Food for Thought is Deirdre Anderson. She's a Hunterdon County chef. She's been a Hunterdon County chef for 20 years. She is amazing, and she's available. If anybody would like to hire her, I can put you in touch with her. And her cohort is Laura Mangone, who owns Chambers Walk restaurant in the Hopewell area. And she's also been in the restaurant business for 30 years. And, they're also very, very good friends. So they come in here and they talk about recipes and they talk about restaurant nightmare experiences. And it's really a very fun show to listen to. That's on at 1 o'clock.
It's very lively.
Yeah.
It's very lively. By the way, we'll talk about on demand in a moment as well, because you said it's going to be on at 1, but there's also on demand.
Well, what we do is we run them for a few days. We run the original show, on Fridays at 1 o'clock. That particular show is on Fridays at 1 o'clock, original show, and then we repeat it at 1 o'clock. And after about a week, we put on demand because some people, just don't have time to get it to tune in at 1 p.m. But we do like to run it for a week first, and the same with your show as well at 7 o'clock in the morning because. We want people to tune into the radio station, and once they get here and check out our schedule and all the great shows that we have, we're hoping that they'll, listen to some of the other shows as well, like Divorce Duo, which comes on right after your show.
Right, at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Which is, a couple of lawyers, Nacklinger and Previtt is the name of their organization, their law firm, and they're actually they're not even in the county. It's people in other counties are a little bit more savvy to what we're doing. They're in Somerset County, in the Piscataway area, but they're fantastic. It's a very listenable show, And they actually take divorce questions and answer them on the air for free if you email divorceduo@gmail.com. And they talk about things like you really want to know, like how do you save money? How do you get the divorce over with quicker? You know, what don't you need to spend money on? What do you need to spend money on? And stuff of that nature. So that's the kind of shows that are really providing a service to the listeners.
And then we've got we mentioned, was it Joey?
Joey Novick is, right,
that
it's
show
going to be a
coming up.
Bill Maher type comedy program with real politicians. And that's going to be all about Hunterdon County politics. It's going to be probably controversial.
Real politicians.
Yeah,
Is that
real live
possible?
politicians and real live comedians. So
And a live audience, right?
and yeah, he wanted to have a live audience. He thought it would be more spontaneous. So we will be setting up about 20 seats to come and sit in and listen to that. And I think that that's going to be working out very well. I think that's going to be a fun show.
Do they have to write to you to get tickets, like a Jimmy Fallon type of
They
thing?
have to. They have to get tickets on Eventbrite through Joey. Joey posts all over social media. You have to get on Eventbrite and sign up for a ticket.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that,
That's
okay.
how they- yeah.
So what's the website for that?
It's an Eventbrite. He's just all over. If you go to the Flemington Facebook page, or just go to PANJ Radio's Facebook page, and we post the links for everything on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely want to be part of that, right?
Yeah.
That'll be a lot of fun. So,
Absolutely.
So content, I mean, so get content, lots of great local music. What other shows do we have coming up?
Well, we have a show called STEM Civic Show, which
Okay,
runs at 4
okay.
o'clock. We're going to be doing a new show today, actually. That'll be live at 4 o'clock today.
Okay.
Today is Monday, as I said. It'll be repeated. That's a very interesting show. It's a Trenton High School. I guess it's what you call a magnet school. And the kids are fantastic. You know, they're all African-American kids. And they come in here and they interview adults. And they interview each other. And they're all like 15 years old. So it's very interesting to get the perspective that they're coming from. Very intelligent kids. It's a very entertaining show. And, people should check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Very
We
cool.
have In the Green Room, obviously, with Vinny Verderosa.
And what is that show about?
That's the original show that we had. It's a community outreach show. Vinny's personally very interested in self-help. So he has a lot of guests talking about self-help. But today, this afternoon, for example, or tomorrow afternoon, we're going to have Eric Mintel is a jazz musician. He'll be live in the studio at 5 o'clock, and we'll repeat that show at 5, so you can tune in and listen to that this week. He has a lot of musicians, a lot of interesting people, community outreach people. Last week, we interviewed Jen Samuels, who's an animal rights activist, and especially elephants. And she talked about how New Jersey, who knew, is in the forefront of banning ivory trade sales in the United States. So I guess Christie did something good, you know. So that actually was a politician named Ray Lesniak is the one who brought that bill into the Trenton Capitol and got it passed.
Okay.
So you're not allowed to buy or sell ivory in New Jersey. There's only 4 states, I think, where that's the case.
Okay.
We have a show called Shack Radio, which is a live show. The Shackers who performed at the Prahlsville Mill, they're a fantastic group. They're kind of a rotating group, you may have noticed. It's up to a dozen of them at any, but usually 6 or 7 at any one time. John Flynn is the moderator for that show. He's a character, and they come in here, and sometimes they do shots before they start the show. It's a lot of fun. And they talk about music. It's a little inside baseball sometimes for me. They talk about instruments and chords and stuff. I love music, but, I don't know how to play anything. My son's the musician. But that's a really fun show, too. So, we try to have a lot of interesting, varied shows, and we're searching for more.
Yeah. So if you have an idea for a show, please contact the station, because having content, having good music, that'll definitely bring up the listenership, and that's what we want to try to do here. So so where do you see this thing going? I mean, do you see this as?
I think right now we need to get the listener numbers up, and that was really one of the, not only the fundraiser, which was fantastic because we did raise some money, and we are planning on simulcasting our shows with video. We already have carved out PANJTV.com.
Oh, okay.
So that's going to be the sister station, and we're going to simulcast once we get the equipment up and running, not only radio on PANJRadio.com, but PANJTV.com will have the video stream. Because people like to watch videos as well, and that really catches people's attention. Radio is kind of old school, so I think that video will bring in a whole new, probably younger clientele to the programming.
It's kind of a mix of the two, too. You have good content. Content today, especially in the social media space, is video, it's imagery, it's sound. So it's combining all of that together. So that's a great direction for the station to go.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting it together. So I'm still recovering. We're still giving out raffle prizes, all weekend.
I see a few sitting
We
out
still have a
there.
few that need to get picked up, probably about 20. We've given out around 20, 25, and I'm arranging for people to come in and pick up their prize.
Yeah, okay.
And getting to meet them. And that's another way for people to know about the station. They come in and they check it out. We also have Network Lambertville, which you're a member of, which is another thing that I started 5 years ago. You can believe we're in business for 5 years now, which is a monthly networking meeting with mostly small business owners. And we provide wine experience. We have fully catered by Bitter Bob's Barbecue, desserts by Pudge Cakes. Those are both in New Hope, Pennsylvania, right across the river. Once again, I started that as a way to get people to know about Green Birdie Video Productions and now PANJ Radio. They come up to the studio and they meet us and they have a good time and do business with each other.
And we have good wines. We had Sandcastle wine last time around, right?
Yeah, and
right
we had
there.
La Vite, which was Sicilian wines, and they're going to be coming back probably in May.
Yep.
Great Finale of Flemington was our longtime wine sponsor, and we're still good friends with them. They make amazing wines up in Flemington. So
And this is the
yes.
first Thursday, 6:30 p.m., first Thursday of every month.
Correct. Next one is April 7th,
Come
2016.
Come join us. It is a really, really good networking group. And it really shows this space. I think, if you look around, I'm looking around like on TV here. Look.
Yeah, when we have PANJ TV, you'll be able to do that.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll put some pictures up on the website so you can kind of get a sense of what this location looks like.
Yeah.
So back to the mill. So besides raising awareness, and we did see some increase in traffic, of course, which was great. It was a fundraiser. So where do you plan to best use the
Well, like I said,
the funds we earned from that event?
The video system is the most expensive component. It comes, we've already done all the homework on it. It's going to be a software-based switching system. It'll have a downstream key capability, which means that we can turn on the lights on the green screen and change the background if we want to. It includes multiple cameras. It includes microphones that are activated by voice, so that if you're talking, like right now I'm talking, the camera would cut to me, and then you talk, it cuts to you.
Okay.
They also have joysticks so that you can control all of the cameras. So that's the major thing we're going to do. But we're also going to upgrade the table, for example. Right now we have a folding table that Stephen is sitting on, which is about 5 feet in diameter. We're going to, hopefully it'll be ready by the Joey Novick show. It's going to be a 7-foot wide wood table, which is going to be much more sturdy than this. We're going to upgrade the microphones. We're going to have condenser mics. Right now we have ribbon mics. So those are going to be better quality microphones as well. We're going to build a superstructure with lights and cameras that's going to hang over the table. And also, if the landlord approves, because the landlord did let me build a wall in here, 5 years ago for the green screen, I'd like to convert my kitchen into a control room with a window, because I have a really cool kitchen here, which is not really used that much. It's got its own door, so we can actually have engineers in there. I want to upgrade the phone system. We do have live calling capability, but if someone calls, we don't know who it is. So we just go on the air with them, and we kind of tell them to. Sometimes we have to say hello, are you there? And turn down your mic, your radio, because there's a delay. So this way we'll be able to take multiple calls, because I think we'll be getting multiple calls, in the next year or two. I think we're going to be, a moving force in New Jersey. I really do, and that's my goal.
When you get the listenership up, the live calls will follow, and that should be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, for all of our shows, all of our content,
Yeah.
But yeah, this is like those entrepreneurs who create stuff in their garage. We just happen to be on the second floor of an old building, but
I actually started my in 2009 when I left Channel 9. I started my business in my garage.
Everybody does, right?
Yeah, it was in my garage, and I had to move the cars and set up the lights when I did a shoot.
For the video work, yeah.
Yeah, for the video work, yeah. And then when I found this space with the 14-foot high ceilings here and the beautiful Masonic Lodge, 21 Bridge Street, it's built in the 1870s. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the location, and and I was, I just wanted it here, and I wanted to live here anyway. So I said, let me open the studio. I didn't move here until about a year later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been great.
This space is so Lambertville.
It is. It's very eclectic.
So if you get better microphones, does that mean I'm going to sound better?
You're going to sound even better,
That's incredible.
if possible.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not so sure about the video part.
Well, these mics are actually fine for talking, but I do want to make the musicians sound as good as they can. And when the musicians come in here, we do a lot of live recordings. It's really great space for live sound. It sounds terrific. It's going to sound even better when we get the better microphones for the musicians. That's important to me.
And you also do some radio shows, or you can do radio shows on location as well.
Oh yeah, we go live. In fact, we're going to be on location at we were live at the Prosville Mill for 13 hours.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We will be April 9th. We will be at the New Hope Eagle Firehouse. There's going to be a wing off. Our friend Bitter Bob's is sponsoring that, and there's going to be a dozen restaurants from New Hope, and I'm not even sure if there's any Lambertville restaurants involved. I think there's a couple from Lambertville, mostly the New Hope side of the river.
Yeah.
They're going to be competing for the best wing. There's going to be a couple of live musical acts there, and it's going to be great. We're going to be live for 3 hours. That's on April 9th from I think it's 2 to 5 p.m.
Okay.
So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Hot wings at the firehouse. I guess that's a good play on words there, right?
Yeah,
To
and
be
I
at
was
the
hoping,
firehouse.
when you had Steve Lau in here, I was really excited about, trying to do some live stuff with them too, because he's got the Raz room over there at the Raven.
Right, they're under construction right
And
now.
I thought
so
that
think-
would be a good thing. And, I've also reached out to Havanas to do live stuff with them, and I think the more live, the better. And also, hey, you know what? Instead of people volunteering, maybe I can actually pay people to do some of this work.
They absolutely go
Yeah.
out, get out in the community. So, and a nice sign out front too. We'll have a big PANJ sign. So we're going to be a landmark here. People are going to want to come up and see what this garage is all about.
Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than a garage.
Yeah,
At this point.
It is. Definitely come out for the networking event, though. You get a chance to see what's going on here. So
That's true. That's true. It's going to be great. We're going to have a great event on April 7th.
very good.
Yeah.
Who's our wine? Do we have our wine person yet?
I haven't gotten a wine person yet. I've reached out to a few.
Okay.
But we'll have wine. Don't worry, one way or the other.
All right. So
Yeah.
if you are a local winery, if you are a local bottler or any of those kind of distributors, Dev, it's great publicity because we do promote you like crazy. So it's a good thing. And I think was it La Vita? I've got
La Vita is a Sicilian wine importer, and I think they got a lot of business off of it. They're very excited to come back. I think they'll
I've
probably
connected
come
them
back
with-
in May. But right now, April 7th is still open.
Yeah, I've connected with a couple people, so it's a good thing. So come out, bring your wine. We love it. So come out and see what the experience is. So.
Yeah.
So PANG Radio. So here we go. So another one of our episodes is drawing to a quick end. So, hey, like I said, we've got some art galleries coming in. We've got some social media conversation coming in. We have other business owners and entrepreneurs and influencers. So please, if you're interested in joining our show, sponsoring our show, advertising with our show, please let us know. But until next week, it's Stephen Harris, Entrepreneur Espresso. Thanks again to Rob Bell, PANJ Radio.
Hey, you know what? It was a pleasure. It's
was
nice to
awesome.
be on the targeted side of the microphone for a change.
I definitely wanted to turn this one around. Thank you, sir.